He, he is in the house. We call him the investigator, Jimmy Leach. Jimmy, good morning.
Good morning. When you asked me if I was ready, I was just sitting here getting down on the music. I didn't know. I forgot about turning the thing on.
That's a pretty good. That's a pretty good song. Pretty good song.
Yes,
I do like that song. You know, the investigator's in the house with us. Is this thing on YouTube? Are we live on YouTube? Or
no, we're not live. But we
on
be on our YouTube channel as soon as I load it up later.
Yeah. I forget that you bring that camera in here, and
yeah.
So it's on YouTube at Tennessee Underground or
Tennessee Underground.
Tennessee Underground on YouTube.
This goes in the section that says police perspective. We got about 4 different sections on there. This is police perspective.
We do.
Yes,
4 different sections.
Man, we're fired.
We're
ready to go fired up. Yeah, I'm fired.
I think that you've got most of those. I would think, right? Yeah. You're doing most of the talking, which you should. You know.
Not really. It's about 50-50.
I interview people and you get to interview Jimmy.
Well, you know, we got
the
8 sessions we did on interview and interrogation. That's
right.
on there.
Oh, that's on there.
And then you and I did 2 or 3 on
that's
police
that's
reform.
A good section. Those were good.
Yes, sir.
If you're in law enforcement, you need to check those out.
Yes, sir. Or really, if you do, if you're human resources, if you're a teacher, if you're a parent.
Okay.
Communication. It's all about communication.
Okay.
I'm finishing one up. Maybe get it uploaded today on strictly on body language. You'll be on our podcast and our YouTube TV channel.
So go to Tennessee Underground on Facebook or on YouTube.
Right.
We're there.
There you go.
Okay. Not exactly a television production, but we're putting it out there anyway. Jimmy Leach investigated with us. One thing today, and they're doing the tribute this evening with the Sea of Blue, as they call it. You have said 2 things I remember you say. First of all, there are no routine traffic stops.
Right.
Not ever, you say. Never routine traffic stops.
Right.
And the other thing is that for officers of the law, the most dangerous situation you walk into is domestic.
That's exactly right.
You know if you've got a robbery or whatever underway, you know what you're walking into. When you walk into a domestic, it could be anything from one level to another.
Yes, and many times the 2 that are at odds with each other find a common enemy.
Yeah,
you walk
that's
in,
you.
and they both turn on you.
Yeah,
exactly. It's very dangerous. And we had an officer killed just this past week in a regular traffic stop. Last Friday night, routine traffic stop. Yeah.
Where was that now?
It was in Florida. Yeah, down around Jackson.
But this was in Clifton, Tennessee. By the way, I've just been handed a note. Mike Doe's handed me a note. The traffic light at the bypass on I-40 is malfunctioning. Traffic light bypass on I-40 is malfunctioning. That's a multi-lane situation, so that is tough. The law enforcement says you treat those as 4-way stops. That's a challenge on the bypass out there. And then you've got turn lanes and all. And so the traffic light at the bypass on I-40 is malfunctioning, flashing yellow for north-south traffic, flashing red for turning lanes. That's probably as good advice as you can get out there. But man, to turn left, you'll have to count on other people to stop.
You know, maybe they might get some officers out there directing traffic. Maybe, Steve.
And we've had a traffic crash that has been reported, and that's at the on Hollywood near the interstate. And once again, Mitchell's Body Shop and Man's Record Service brings you those updates. But thanks, Mike Goals, for bringing that in. But that's, that kind of messed up where we were. But we wanted to get that information out quickly. We appreciate the calls that have come in on that. But this Hardin County deputy sheriff that was killed, apparently, Clifton, Tennessee. And police officer with Clifton and law enforcement personnel from Hardin County responded to that. And walking up.
And I haven't talked to anybody down there, Steve. I hadn't bothered.
Right.
But just wasn't getting through the media and from talking to some other people. They got the call. Like you said, Clifton officers there and 1 or more Hardin County deputies.
That's right.
And I think maybe that the fellow that got killed was deputy got killed was the last one to respond. And the guy came out with a gun in his hand. They told him to put it down. He didn't. And when the officer went and told him, he shot him and killed him, and then ran off. Wow. They captured him later.
Okay. We've had a murder of a 70-year-old woman here in the city of Jackson. They are still looking for the suspect in that case.
They know who it is, I think.
Right. Yes. They got photos posted. In fact, there's WNWS.com's got a report on that with the photo of the suspect in this case. But that's been several days ago.
I think she had bruises all over where she tried to defend herself, and he'd been in jail, I think, for rape twice.
Okay.
Served 2 sentences for rape.
Wow. And so that is underway. And then also, we've had a shooting of just a bunch of bullets flying in Jackson.
Yeah.
What area was that?
It was Roosevelt Parkway.
Okay.
And one of the tragedies, things catch your eye sometimes. And there was a lady they interviewed that was a neighbor, and she said she heard about 30 rounds, she thought. And she said in her statement that was in the paper, she said, I had my children and my grandchildren there, and I was scared to death for them. you know, it just breaks your heart, people having to live, you know, with that kind of fear.
In that situation.
Worry about that situation. You know.
Okay. Where do you want to go from here? We got several things going on. You know, we had R. Kelly, a high-profile case, and he was convicted of a series of sexual abuse and trafficking. Well, there were a lot of different federal charges involved with this. It's a federal case.
It's gone on for decades. Yeah, and there's some state charges laying back there. I think
as well.
Back there. Yeah, yeah.
And so the high-profile, one time, you know, at the top of the record charts, R. Kelly, and you know, it sounds just kind of like that lifestyle, that entertainment lifestyle gone to extremes, perhaps.
Yeah, dominance.
Yeah.
Dominance and taking advantage of people, and I know with the sexual predator. Bill Cosby says he was framed by the government. By the way, in case you wonder what Bill had said. I don't think he was, but
Yeah.
But
Well, he's out of prison.
yeah, Bill is. Yeah,
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 yeah.
he is. He is.
Yeah.
He is. And really, that, you know, that's the one we talked about on the show, where, you know, one DA, one prosecutor said, you know, go ahead and tell this, and we'll never use it against you. And they made a statement and all this, and the new DA came in and said, oh, I didn't make that deal. We're gonna prosecute you. That shouldn't happen. That's not
Okay.
right. You don't do that.
So it became illegal.
Yeah, not saying he's innocent. I just said that wasn't.
You know, well, and, you know, showbiz brings power. Money brings power, and
Yeah.
sometimes it's abused. The jury decided R. Kelly was guilty of all that. His sentencing is coming up in October, and they're expecting that it'll be a lengthy sentence for him. And he's in his 40s or early 50s. What age he is.
Yeah. Middle 40s, I think, middle late 40s.
Now, what is this about? Jimmy Leach investigated with us. What is this about Robert Durst?
Okay, this one, and this actually, he got convicted about 2 weeks ago. This is the guy, he's like almost, and he's in his 80s.
Okay.
He was in court in a wheelchair and auction, all this, until he got ready to get on a witness stand. And then he got up and testified, and testified for like 4 days or something.
Didn't have to have oxygen.
Now, and they said, you know, would you? He said, yeah, I'd lie. He said, I'd lie about it. Sure, I would. If I wouldn't tell you if I didn't.
Oh, it's
But
one in California.
He's the one that
That had killed somebody, and they
He-
killed
he-
somebody, or they
he-
suspect him of killing
well,
somebody. and killed somebody.
his wife, he
Mr.
discovered his
Tibbs.
wife dead.
Dead, right?
And the woman that's dead in this case is the one that alibied him.
Right.
Then he went to Texas, dressed up like a woman, and a guy down there found out who he was. So he
Killed him.
well, this guy was said he killed him in self-defense, dismembered him.
But he was tried for that and acquitted.
He was tried for that. He was acquitted on the murder, and he was convicted of tampering with evidence, which was cutting the man's body up and throwing it in the Galveston Bay or somewhere.
Okay.
Then he comes back, and the lady that gave him an alibi on his wife's murder ends up dead. And that's the murder that they just tried him on.
Okay.
And they finally convicted him on some. The HBO did a thing called the Jinx.
That's right, and he talked during that.
Yeah, and that was a big issue in the
That was the
trial.
one
This
where he
case
said-
went on for the pandemic caught,
okay,
and
yeah.
it went on for 2 years.
Okay.
And so they finally got a conviction on Robert Durst, which is a big deal.
This case is underway in Carolina with this Murdoch family there.
Yeah.
That's kind of a bizarre, multifaceted thing. Have you seen any? Is there a simple way to explain that case?
Well, the one comment, one thing you want to do is, if you go deer hunting and you jump a rabbit, don't start rabbit hunting. Okay? You start
Stay
out,
on the deer.
you start out working a double homicide.
Okay.
Don't get caught up in the case where the maid tripped over the dog and fell downstairs. Okay?
Okay.
So now,
Well,
if you see something that ties back,
this has become kind of a multifaceted.
oh, we got that. Then we got
The
a guy
family's
found in the middle
financial
of the road
situation.
dead. As a matter of fact, we're doing a thing for our other stuff on that
Okay.
case right now.
Okay.
But you got the guy that was in the roadway dead. Okay, found him dead.
Right.
The kid dead. Stephen Smith,
Right.
I believe his name.
Right.
Then you got the maid that tripped over the dog, they said, and fell down the stairs.
Right.
And then you got the son that got killed. You got the situation. He was charged with boating under the influence, and a girl died in that situation.
In that situation, right, the young man.
The one common denominator, and then you got the dad, who is the one that found the mother and the son dead.
Okay.
He leaves or gets fired from his law firm for embezzling over $1 million. Find out he's got an opioid addiction,
Okay.
and supposedly has a flat tire out. And
So you
hired the
say
guy to try to
you
kill
say
him.
the case has gotten off point, off track.
Well, you could. I'm not saying that. SLED is South Carolina Department of Law Enforcement.
Okay.
They are good.
Okay.
They really are. And I'm gonna say they're working it like it ought to be worked. You're not hearing a lot of stuff out of it.
Okay.
But the one common denominator I can't get away from, Steve, is money. Everything seems to be revolving around money.
Okay.
And then the wife and the son were killed by 2 separate weapons, shot straight on, in a place at 9 o'clock at night. You know, I don't know. There's several different things you could look at, but it's making a lot of television because of the. Everybody's making a big conspiracy out of it. It may be, it may not be.
Well, the one for better or for worse that's gotten the television time lately is Gabby, Tito. Okay, what's your feeling on this boyfriend? And family and all this stuff. So I mean, the investigators I don't think have said anything, because there's a lot of speculation. His family helped him hide or got him out of town or whatever has happened.
Yeah.
They spent a lot of time searching in that reserve area there, and then finally narrowed it down. Yeah. And now they're looking elsewhere. I mean, I understand, right? And so,
there's no telling how many leads they're getting. No telling. And they're following them. They're doing their best to follow them all down. Dog has showed up in the picture, the bounty hunter dog. And they say he came up with information about the travel park.
Okay. So he's actually, because some guys find headlines, and he finds headlines out there.
Yeah, and the thing, what you got to wonder is, how did he get that information? And I can think of 15 different ways it could come.
Of course, some people may talk to him that don't talk to the people.
But how would you get to that trailer park to talk to him to start with?
Well, you gotta go.
Well,
right.
There's probably a lot of trailer parks.
Well,
somebody done told somebody something.
You have to have publicity to stay in that business,
exactly,
right? Keep your name out there, and he's falling on some hard time.
I can see him talking to maybe an officer somewhere. He said, well, they never did check on that lead out there at the trailer, and he goes and checks and hits it.
Of course, he's got a television reputation of being able to find people that other people they can't find.
And he's probably got a pocket full of money.
Yeah, okay. Well,
but I'm going to tell you what,
would you talk to him? You're an investigator. Would you talk to him?
Yeah, I sure would. To get the help. I talked to him. But I did a thing on our podcast and a TV thing both on undercover operation. I did one time. Another guy. We worked undercover for a week. Didn't do any good. And sat in a restaurant one morning and listened to 2 guys talking about the entire gambling operation in this city we were in, and just sat and started making notes. Something like that. The dog could have been sitting in a restaurant somewhere and heard 2 officers talking.
Okay.
Because I promise you, there's leads that they hadn't got to yet.
Okay. Well, it's an interesting case.
There's
been criticism because it's kind of captured the attention of America for whatever reason. People say, hey, we got 1,000 people missing out there that don't get any national publicity. And this is 30-minute, an hour-long specials and all kinds of things.
Well, one thing I think, they got especially the TV news, they got plenty of pictures and video.
Well, they did, because they were sending video. That was part of their trip, right? It's what they did was, do that kind of thing. And so it made it, they were media, in the sense of internet media personalities already.
Yeah.
And so it just kind of picked up there.
Yeah.
What is this about 4 people killed in Minn County, Tennessee?
Well, that was, it was over, it was another domestic deal, okay?
Is that right? Wow.
Yeah, it was another domestic deal. It was a disagreement over who was supposed to have a 10-month-old child.
Okay.
And ended up, I think it was 1 man and 3 women got killed, and a man and a woman have been arrested for it. They got the child back. Yeah.
Okay. That's in Minn County.
The domestic again, yeah.
Well, one thing that we haven't talked about, and I haven't mentioned on the news this week, in the Blue Suede News, and that is John Hinckley. And I had real mixed feelings about this, because this has been treated as a mental health case. He never did go to prison, right? He went to mental health facilities.
Right.
He's actually been out for years living with his mother in some kind of supervised situation. His mother has died, and now the move has been made to just let him go on his own.
Well, let him go, but they put all kind of conditions. You can't get close to this thing. You can't get close to this person. You got to stay away from this person. Huh?
Well,
if he's so harmless, why does he got to stay away from all these people?
Well, I wonder, of course, that's how many years ago? 40 years or whatever?
It's been right about 1980.
All right. Still, when you try to shoot the president of the United States and you injure people, James Brady's life totally changed.
He shot the president.
He shot
Brady.
Yeah.
He shot a Secret Service officer and another police officer.
Right.
If I'm not
I just have a real problem when you get out, or that you never went to prison. I understand mental health, and I know that there'll be a lot of criticism about these comments. Well, this man was mentally ill or whatever. Okay. He's been living with his mother. I don't know. If you shoot the president of the United States and a lot of other people and alter their lives forever, right? Forever. James Brady was never the same because of brain injuries and everything else. I don't know.
Well, you know, when you shoot the president of the United States, you alter a lot of people's lives. You alter a lot of things in this country.
Yeah, right, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's like, and I know there are mental health issues, and you know some people be screaming at the radio saying, you know, you people don't know anything about mental health or whatever. It just bothers me that this man is, you know, after all these years allowed to go, and he was living with his mother, and I know, you know, whatever. I don't know. It just bothers me.
Well, one thing about it,
And yeah, and I know there are legal issues and there are mental health issues and everything else. It's just like this man shot the president of the United States,
that's exactly right.
and he shot and intended to kill a lot of other people, or was trying to kill the president and other people. You know, and like I said, James Brady, his life was never the same after that for his family. I just feel like there ought to be more.
Well, you know, one of the purposes of incarceration, one of the purposes, not the total, and none of this stuff's perfect. Life ain't perfect. One of the purposes is to segregate a person from the rest of the population if you think they're harmful.
Okay,
I think he's proved he's harmful.
all right,
He has in my mind. He shot 4 people, one of them being the president of the United States.
okay,
I believe he's harmful.
all right.
I think he deserves to be segregated from the population. If he does, you know, that's my feelings. They just got through with a case down in Florida where a guy called in a domestic again.
But he's out, and he's a free man in this.
Well, I know it, and
I mean, he
well, it's, you know, there's things-
he should have been within a facility, it was a mental health facility. He should have stayed there the rest of his life. To me,
yeah, I agree.
I mean, you know, it just sends the wrong message that you can shoot the president of the United States. If you hang around long enough, we're gonna let you go.
Yeah.
And as you say, he could have been kept in a segregated facility, whatever, and you know, whatever. But this was treated as mental health.
When I say I'm talking about segregating from the open out in the
Population,
population,
right? I understand.
where you can't hurt people.
Right.
You know, and like I say, they got this guy laid up on deputies down in Florida just this past week, and he suffered from PTSD, and they took him in without incident, and he had ammunition, had extra guns and all this,
Okay.
but he came back and apologized after it was over with. Well, if he killed 3 people, so he apologized.
Yeah.
He's gonna still kill 3 people, just like Hinckley. He shot 4 people.
Something seems wrong with that to me.
Yes,
that
that's me
he's
too.
released. It just bothers me. I don't know. Jimmy Leach, the investigator, with us. This is Blue Suede Forever. A reminder, this conversation will be posted on Tennessee Underground on Facebook, and will be on YouTube channel Tennessee Underground, and a bunch of other things. One of the so you've got 4 YouTube channels set up under Tennessee Underground
Under Tennessee Underground, we got 4 different sections.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Well, be sure to visit that.
and you know, we talked about domestic stuff this
Right.
morning 2 or 3 times. Our guest this Saturday morning on the Investigator is the executive director of RAP,
Okay.
Women and
Darl's
Men's
gonna be with
Rape
us.
Assistance Program,
Right. Okay.
and it's going to be. She is. Well, you know her well. She's
Right.
committed. She's dedicated.
Oh,
She's
very much.
knowledgeable. It's going to be a great show.
Okay. That is on domestic violence with the Darla is going to be their director of RAP, and that's going to be Saturday morning at 9 o'clock right here at 101.5, and it'll come up right after Tricks of the Trade.
Right, exactly right. It will be a great show, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's Domestic Violence Awareness Month this month, and it's certainly appropriate. And we've seen what happens in this case this past week, you know, to a law enforcement officer, to law enforcement officers in these situations. As Jimmy said, no routine traffic stops, and there are no routine domestic violence calls, and that's one of the most dangerous calls. Like I said, if it's a robbery, something else, you know what you're getting into when you go in. With domestic violence, you have no idea. Nobody was expecting an officer to be killed from a man's point.
Same thing with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, here we go. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. This is WNWS FM Jackson, WTJS FM in Alamo. Whatever we do, we're the talk of Jackson and West Tennessee. We're going to take this break. When we come